From the iconic Ardennes Forest, we are welcomed back to the Floridian countryside at Sebring International Raceway hosts the midway point of Apex. This GT4 Tuesdays on Tuesdays. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the official Racer Nexus broadcast. And up here in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth, you join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Chris Murphy once again. We hope you're all keeping well. It has been a short 7 days since Spa-Francorchamps, and we did see a little bit of the circuit. It was based on the original location of Hendricks Army Airfield, a B-17 training base between 1941 and 1946. It's located just 70 miles south of Orlando, in central southern Florida. First opened back on New Year's Eve 1950, measures 3.74 miles, 17 turns, a lot of technicality, and it has got a lot of abrasive and also very changeable, let's say, surfacing here at Sebring. But it is an iconic circuit. It has hosted so many championships, including the World Endurance Championship, of course the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which is getting underway this very weekend. It's 24 at the World Centre of Racing, Daytona itself. But more to the point, we need to get you updated with the scores on the doors after 5 weeks of racing. Weeks were in Atlanta, Monza, Watkins Glen, Mid-Ohio and Spa. In the pros is Brian Lemke, who has picked up a win. He's had 5 straight podiums so far and has 31 points advantage over Brian's in. Roman Bykov rounds out your top 3. Michael Brock has taken 2 wins, the most recent being last week, a lights-out to checkered flag victory at Spa-Francorchamps. Derek Tyndall, Ken Kruger, Russell Abraham, Oz Eskelou, Thomas Lathrop and Jonathan Cooper round out your top 10. DJ Alessandrini, Kelly Greenhoe, Joseph Mayer, Jesse Meager and Spencer Baudoir round out your top 15. However, it has been the story in the mid-pack Larrys that a certain Kyle Mavis is running away with things at the moment. He has 95 points to his credit. And what's more, he's 39 points ahead of nearest competitor Ryan Ryder. Equal on third points is James Dean and Harrison Mealy. Sean Teeter rounds out the top 5, a further 4 points behind. Mike Bond, Conor Menard, Uwe Hale, Matthew Brent, Dan Corrido round out your top 10. Corrido's tied on points, 34 apiece with Rob Phelan and Dylan Foster. Aaron Lahr, Christopher Diaz and Craig Thompson round out your top 14, 15 drivers so far. But more to the point, Kyle Mavis has had 2 wins so far. Mike Bond's had a win, Dan Corrido's had a win, and so has Aaron Lahr. We're into the final 3.5 minutes of qualifying, and it's the man that carries the momentum and the confidence from Spa, Michael Brock, who stays in the 421 Technicolor Dreamcoat Ford Mustang GT4. He is leading in qualifying ahead of his nearest rival, Brian Lemke, who has not placed outside of the top 2 all season so far. And Chris, this circuit really needs no introduction. It's been to Sebring. We've seen IMSA and the Tech Sports Car action on nightfall here at this Floridian circuit. It is one that really, when you get through a race, you feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah, this track is really going to be challenging to the drivers. Not the smoothest of surface we've seen all year long. As being on the old Air Force base, I don't know if they've even paved this since back then. It's really rough out there. It's going to be really hard on tires as well. We're going to see who can manage their tires well. Hour-long race, and we see some guys we're going to usually pit about halfway through this. We'll see if this track's going to eat up tires enough that somebody has to change. But really look at Brock right top of the charts right now here in qualifying. Actually, Kevin Zhu going to take over the top spot right now. Brock's still looking pretty strong. Come back after his win at Spa last week.
Yeah, Kevin Chu, the man from St. Kitts, in the 243 Mercedes-Benz AMG GT4 has just been the first driver to go underneath the 2-minute 13-second barrier. The 2:12.7, Rob just 3 and a bit tenths behind Joshua Soto, who was actually at the top of the 1 hour 50-minute free practice session, which the drivers are allowed to get an understanding of the circuit. And once more, the track temperature is nearly at 130 degrees Celsius during qualifying. So you can see there, air temp 82 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp 129 degrees, partially cloudy, wind to the northeast of around 9 miles an hour, humidity currently at 57%. And if this temperature remains in the 45-minute race with the pit stop due to limited fuel that the drivers are allowed to have, which is around about the 50% mark. Of course, it is fixed setup, arrive and drive. And out of the 12 weeks, the best 8 scores go towards the championship titles in both the pros and the mid-pack Larry divisions, respectively. As Kevin Zhu, there we see a very, very brightly coloured 243 Mercedes. Looks like, I'm wondering who that is behind him. I'm wondering if it might be either Derek Tindall. It's not Derek Tindall, as Brian Lemke goes up into P2 on a 2:12.812. So the man from Skylounge Motorsports, as Kevin Zhu comes out of Sunset Bend and absolutely rights off the front end off the Mercedes. But we are into the final 30 seconds in qualifying. Michael Brock at the moment has just done his personal best in Sector 2. Parker Dime, who's just returned to the series after a few weeks away in the 57 Porsche Cayman, is up to P3. Austin Diltz has just pitted. Chad Sonovsky in the 343 Mercedes has just gone up the table to P7. And for those wondering, the colour coding on the timing tower, the cyan blue numbers are for the pros and the whites are for the mid-pack Larrys. We have got scheduled to hit the grid 35 cars, as Joshua Soto running in a looks like a Verstappen.com livery, and he is making his way through into the far part of the circuit. A man from Antarctica, it says, according to his flag and also locality, but more to the point, he is really manhandling that flat 6 boxer engine around the circuit. So can Joshua Soto improve? Parker Dye makes it 3 drivers underneath the 2-minute 13-second barrier. We have hit more than 10 minutes in qualifying, so it is going to be the final push to see how you can quickly get these cars around the circuit. Parker Dime at the moment has done a personal best in the opening sector, personal best in Sector 2, so Parker Dime really starting to close on in. Can he upset the apple cart? Because at the moment in the top 3, it's Mercedes leading BMW, leading Porsche, leading Ford. Michael Brock, in the meantime, has improved a 2-minute 13.045, but Parker Dime, that lap is going to be scrubbed, I'm afraid, because he loses it, hits the curbing high, 2 wheels in the air, and the back end steps out. So Parker Dime, I'm afraid, is not going to be able to challenge for pole position. But what can Joshua Soto do? He's now halfway down the Almond Straight, having come out of Le Mans, and then it's just Sunset Bend to negotiate. And here we will see whether the number 07 Porsche Cayman can make its way through the undulation. It's very bumpy on the inside of Sunset Bend, the front end hopping up and down like a bunny rabbit. But he comes out of the final corner. 2:13.076 was his best lap so far. Can he move up from P5? Yes, he goes pole. 2-minute 12.554, and the man from Antarctica steals pole position at the death. Great job there by, I think he's a newcomer to us, but boy, was that a pole position lap time, over a 1/10.5 quicker than Kevin Zhu in the Mercedes-Benz. Wow.
Yeah, Alex pulled that out at the last minute. Joshua Soto, you could see making this way around Sunset Bend, that last corner here, just how rough it is, and how he got down against that inside wall, made a great lap. Soto to the top of the charts.
So it is going to be a Porsche that is going to be on pole position, and well done to Joshua Soto in the 07, just absolutely manhandling the 718 Cayman GT4. Ryan Ryder is going to start all the way down in 31st position, and he's going to be the last driver to register a lap time in this session. We have gone 3 minutes over, so some drivers are still circulating. That does include Ryan, so they might... well, Ryan's going to go straight on at just after turn 2 and parks it, but Joshua at the minute, we have got scheduled to have 35 cars on the grid, and the session has now concluded, and Joshua Soto with a 2-minute 12.554 sets the stage here at Sebring. My goodness, and what's more, well, we are going to have a rolling lap before we get into the 2x2 rolling start formation. 45 minutes on the counter here for round 6 of the series before we head to Long Beach, and that is going to be a very, very tricky track to overcome, and that will bring us into the second half of the Apex this GT4 Tuesdays season, which you can catch every single round live and uninterrupted right here on Racer Nexus. A big thank you to everyone that is watching so far at the moment. Don't forget, if you want to check out a little bit of a cheeky discount, use the coupon code RacerNexus at the Apex Sim Racing shop for 5% off all purchases. Referral link is down in the description. Don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe whilst you're at it. But Joshua Soto has really done a number on a lot of people here, Chris, and I think a lot of people were quite surprised, yourself and myself included.
Oh, for sure. Just kind of pulled that out of nowhere. I thought Kevin was going to keep the pole right there. Lemke has been up front strong all season so far in qualifying, but just at the last second, just clutch right there from Joshua taking the top spot. And you know, I'm noticing right here, Alex, the weather looks to have changed a little bit here from qualifying to the race. Clouds are getting a little bit darker. I've seen a little bit more breeze. I don't think we're going to... I don't know if there's any rain in the forecast. Hopefully not what we saw at Spa last week for sure, but the weather is changing just a little bit. We'll see how that's going to affect the drivers.
Yeah, the track temperature has dropped from nearly 130 degrees centigrade to just about 117. So yeah, 117 degrees Fahrenheit. Air temperature has, so that's 47.2 degrees centigrade that the drivers will have to contend with. But there is cloud cover. And with that, there is the Porsche iRacing pace car ready to bring our grid around this fantastic 3.741 mile 17-turn circuit. Without further ado, let's take you through the starting grid. A surprising pole position, and it goes to the 07 of Joshua Soto. Kevin Zhu in the Mercedes will be alongside on the front row. Then it is on row 2, Brian Lemke and Parker Dime. And that is going to be BMW versus Porsche. Then we head to row number 3. Puerto Rico's Raul Iriarte will be alongside Michael Brock. Michael Brock picking up P5 in this particular occasion. Next up, row 4, Chad Stanowski and Derek Tyndall in an all Mercedes, row 4. Then we head to the last 2 drivers in your top 10. Austin Diltz and Oz Eskelou, Porsche versus Mercedes. Moving on now to row number 6, it's going to be Jesse Meager and Nate Himmelbach in the kind of Liquid Molly-esque style Porsche. Row 7 is Thomas Lathrop and Roman Bykov, Porsche versus Aston Martin. Row 8, which will complete the top 16, Russell Abraham and Dan Carrido, BMW versus Mustang. Row 9 sees John Cooper and Mid-Pack Larry's series leader, Kyle Mavis, rounding out that. Completing the top 20 will be Sean Teeter in the Monster Cam Waters tribute livery band, and Kent Kruger, who must have had a bad hair day this morning. He starts in P20. Morgan Smith and Uwe Hell round out row number 11. And then we head to row 12, Joseph Mayer and Justin Atchison, Porsche versus Aston Martin once again. Christopher Diaz and the Mercedes will be joined by the Mustang of Mike Bond on row number 13. Row 14 will be Josh Sheps and David Stockrider, both respectively in Mercedes and Porsche power this time around. Rounding out your top 30 will be Russell Elizondo and Rob Phelan. Russell, have to say, love the cowboy hat. Then we've also got our few more drivers. We've got Ryan Ryder, Harrison Mealy, Matthew Brent and John Aguiledo. Aguiledo, last to join the grid, I don't think even made it to it. So more to the point, I'm wondering to see what is going to have the run into turn one here, Chris, because you've got Porsche versus Mercedes, and more to the point, Joshua Soto has absolutely manhandled that Porsche round in that qualifying lap. I don't think anyone on this grid saw it coming.
No, and it's a pretty short run here from the starting line into turn number one. So I would expect Soto to be having a good run in that Porsche with that rear engine, having some good traction to the line. The Porsche actually front engine, sorry about that, but the Porsche's gonna have some good grip right here, and I think he's gonna carry the lead into one over Kevin.
Well, Michael's wife Jen is in chat. Have a great race, in bed with our little dude, recovering from his tonsillectomy, cheering his dad on. Well, great to hear. Hope he recovers soon, and that you both could be sitting on the sofa watching Michael race. Now we are heading down the famed Almond Straight, 17 corners, some drivers weaving from side to side, which I see include Kyle Mavis and also Roman Bykov. But it is going to be the fact that when the pace car peels into pit road, it will be Joshua Soto and Kevin Zhu that will lead the charge into turn one for 45 minutes of racing action as we hit the halfway point of Apex this GT4 Tuesdays. Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Murphy in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth overlooking the start-finish straight as we go helicam. The Porsche pace car peels into pit road, the lights will go to red, and when we bury the hammer down, we are green here at Sebring. And now it's the run to the first corner. Joshua Soto gets a good run. Brian Lemke slotting in his wheel tracks, trying to get the undercut, and Kevin Zhu into turn one. They are fanning out nearly 4 wide behind, and Lemke gets through for P2. Kevin Zhu down to 4th. Parker Dime up to P3. More to the point, Chad Sanoski gets through and Raul Iriarte, and they go through into turn 2 2x2 Stiley, and Parker Dime round the outside at turn 2 on Brian Lemke to steal second position, and now it's a Porsche 1-2. Meantime, Michael Brock up the inside of Kevin Zhu as the Mercedes runs wide as they head through Gurney Bend into the hairpin turn for the first time, but Joshua Soto got the whole shot. Brian Lemke just got done over like a kipper, courtesy of Parker Dime, who's right on the back of the 07 as we head through the right-hander. Now through into the Fangio chicane after Juan Manuel Fangio, it was named. And more to the point, well, Joshua Soto has kept rather calm. John Aguiledo did come out, but he's got a mechanical black flag and has ended back into the pit lane. And more to the point, we see Joe Mayer. He's made up a few positions, but Mike Bond and John Cooper have suffered drama in the background. And there's another car going off the track. That's David Sockrider. He's gone grass tracking Travis Pastrana, and he's having to wait until he rejoins. That is not going to do him any favours whatsoever as they go through Cunningham Corner. A big loss of positions, but at the front end of the field, it's gone single file. But Soto and Dime are starting to pull away. The gap between Dime and Lemke is now 0.6 of a second.
And Sockrider, unfortunately, with an off-track incident right there. But, you know, so many times you see guys just in a hurry to rush back onto the track, and David did a good job there, just kind of blending in, not causing any more damage to the rest of the field, and just kind of taking the mistake. I think he might have had a little help getting off the racetrack there, but he's get back on the back running for Sockrider. But up front, look at Parker all over the back of Soto. See if he can make a run to the inside. He took a little bit of a peak, but just not enough momentum. And Soto is going to take us around to lead lap number 1.
Yep, Uwe Hale, unfortunately, is in the pit lane in the 929 Mercedes. He started down in 22nd position. He's now stone dead last. But more to the point, we have 33 drivers. David Sockrider dropped all the way down to 32nd position. And there's Kyle Mavis in the barriers. Oh no, the mid-pack Larry's leader, I think, might have had a little bit of contact on the right rear. Spun the Mustang into the left side barrier. And he's having to rejoin ever so gingerly. But look, there's a 3-wide battle behind him. Careful, Kyle, you've got to watch your 6 as they now scatter like pigeons to get past him. And Kyle Mavis... oh, that's not what the man that has led the mid-pack Larrys for the majority of the season, picking up multiple race wins. He now has a fight back on his hands. We're going to have a look at the replay here. I think there was a little bit of a touch. It might have been possibly from Oz Escalou in the 911 Mercedes that caught the right rear, and there's damage to the left front. I see the front left wing slightly buckled over the wheel of Kyle Mavis. But at the moment, he has not been given the mechanical black flag. Meantime, Brian Lemke trying to fight back at Parker Dime, who is losing time as Joshua Soto Well, we saw a really good qualifying lap. He's just done a 2-minute 19.376. That was nearly 3/10 quicker than Parker Dime, who is struggling with grip at the moment. The track temperature now up to nearly 126 degrees Fahrenheit. So these rear tyres, if they get overheated too quickly, you're going to find yourself spinning around rather suddenly. Austin Dilt's battling away with Sonoski for position. Morgan Smith battling away with Joe Mayer for P20. So the Aston Martin versus the Porsche this time. So Joseph Mayer able to switch from the Mustang that he's used for the last few rounds. But Morgan Smith, he's right all over the back bumper of the Porsche Cayman. And right behind them, they've got Chris Diaz in the 213 Mercedes. Kent Kruger is now 15th position, up 5 spots. And he's closing in and looking to the right-hand side down the Ullman Straight of Ozesquilu. And behind them is Nate Himmelsbach, who started in 12th position on the start just nearly 5 minutes ago, and they dive to the inside of Sunset Bend. Esquilu loses 2 positions, but he managed to carry the speed round the outside. That's a bit brave and brazen by the 911 Mercedes driver, but he loses out the position to Himmelsbach, who now is on the back bumper of Kruger in the BMW as they come down the start-finish stretch. There has been a lot of close racing action in these first 5 minutes, Chris, and more to the point, a lot of people would say, well, Sebring's a difficult track to master. Yes, you're right, but if you can get it, you know, you can cross the T's, dot the I's, you can make it work around here at Sebring.
Yeah, we talked about just how rough this track is and how hard it is on tires, but the one thing that we're really seeing here so far today is just how wide it is. We've seen battles 3-4 wide and drivers able to keep off each other. So far pretty racy here. We're seeing a lot more passing than we've seen some of the other tracks early on throughout the season. So right now, go back up here to Soda. Soda's still out in front. He has got Parker Diem in tow, but just not able to pace up. And look at Lemke. Lemke looking to lose his top 2 streak right now, sitting back in 3rd.
Well, nevertheless, we know how good Brian Lemke can be on pit strategy, and he's shown that in the last couple of races. Dan Carrido there in the Mustang closing in on Jesse Meager. This is for 12th position overall. Dan Carrido already up 3 places, having started 16th on the grid. The biggest movers so far, Rob Phelan and Ryan Ryder, started 30th and 31st respectively. They are both up to 23rd and 24th now. So both drivers having a bit of a shocking qualifying, but making it work with Rob Phelan running the Lego Speed Champions livery that really has become one of our favourites here in the commentary box this season here at Apex This. And more to the point, Ryan Ryder going with one of the traditional pony blue oval liveries like you would see in the Mustang Challenge, part of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. But Thomas Lathrop rounding out the top 11. He's got Meager and Carrido right on his rear, going through into Sunset Bend at turn number 17 as we get a rear bumper shot from Lathrop. And look at Dan Carrido. He's trying to see if he can sneak up the inside, but Meager's got the overspeed on him anyway. He was about 2 car lengths in front. And now it's becoming a bit like a bit of like a freight train on an articulated lorry. There's like carriage after carriage after carriage, and no one seems to be breaking any opportunity of trying to get through. But more to the point, here is going to be a moment for John Aguiledo, who has been in the pit lane. And all this is going through Sunset Bend. He's going to be a bit tight to the wall. The back end steps out on the Aston Martin. And John is going to be a passenger, but he manages to keep it out of the barriers. Well held by the number 48 Aston Martin. But more to the point, there are pockets of battles here or there. And yeah, well, I'm so glad that we could give Jason a shout out, Jen. He's definitely a little warrior in our hearts here at Racer Nexus. So hopefully we'll be hearing more from you both next time when we go to Long Beach for the 7th round out of 12. But Chad Stanowski really doing a good job. Ozesquilu really starting to put the pressure on Kent Kruger in 15th. And this is a really close battle. We've got 2 of Germany's greats when it comes to sports cars, the Propeller of Munich and the Might of Affalterbach, battling away for pride here at Sebring. Chris, it has been so interesting, and what's more, we are nearly at the point of hitting 9 minutes in it feels like half the race is already gone.
Yeah, these 45-minute races here with Apex just seem to go by pretty quickly. Like you said, we're already 9 minutes into it, 36 minutes left to go, and we have seen some fantastic racing all the way throughout the field. Right now, Soto trying to put a little separation right now back to Diem. Got about almost a minute and a half right now. It looks to have pretty good control of this race. We'll see if anybody can make up anything. And like you said a little bit ago, Brian Lemke is pretty much the king of the pit strategy here so far this season. Let's see if he can pull another rabbit out of his hat here and maybe undercut here and get himself up another spot.
Well, keep your eyes on the man behind him, the winner at Spa last time out, Michael Brock in the 421 Mustang. As here we go, Austin Dilts dives up the inside through, and that is on Chansanovsky as Joshua Soto has a slight faux pas, does not lose his lead. But a great move there by Austin Dilts in the Sapphire Simsport Alpha. Looks like the Rexy Halloween edition livery on the car. In the 217. Great to see that livery on the grid, but Austin needs to be a little bit more careful coming out of turn number 2. But here is the moment where Joshua Soto had a slight off track. You can see the back end starting to lose a little bit of purchase as he goes very close to the wall at turn 1. The back end is going to step out so slightly, and he just goes and crosses the dirt off of the apex, the outside apex of turn 1, but carries the speed through. Brian Lemke has got the high beams on, as if to say, well, hang on a second, you guys, you've got to wait and see what I bring to the party, because he's only 7/10 off of Parker Dime, who is around about 1.3 seconds at his Porsche 1-2, leading the way overall as the battle of the Mustangs continues for 23rd and 24th between Rob Phelan and Ryan Ryder. And more to the point, they really have to get their skates on, but Michael Brock is closing in. He has been lapping half a second quicker than Brian Lemke. The Mustang is on absolute full song here at Sebring, and Michael said, well, we're going to see what happens at Sebring. He led from lights out to checkered flag. He's also a very shrewd and very capable racer, and more to the point, I think that's going to be the man that is really going to bring the fight to Brian Lemke through the second half of this season. But Lemke at the moment has he's placed either first or second in the first 5 races of the season. However, with 2 Porsches leading the way in the forms of Messrs Soto and Dime, this could be the case that he might find his win streak, his success rate unbroken as Roman Bykov goes wide coming out of Sunset Bend. And there is Thomas Lathrop looking to try and get through for P10. The Porsche goes to the right-hand side. Bykov covers him off as they go into the sweeping left-hander here at turn number 1. 11 and a half minutes gone. 33 and a half minutes still to play here at Sebring. And the temperature has increased even further still, 127.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That is bordering on 50 degrees centigrade, as once again Oz Eskelou is still trying to put the pressure on Kent Kruger. But whilst he's trying to fight with the man in the BMW in front, Russell Abraham, another one of the Sky Lounge Motorsports contingent, is closing on them very quickly. And that is the 046 that started 15th, has lost 2 positions. More to the point, well, I'm sure that Russell Abraham will want to be where Kruger is right now, Chris, because there's every opportunity that as this race progresses, I've got a strange feeling that some drivers will be taking, if not all drivers, if they play their cards right, if they decide, well, I'm going to take the hit, I'll get on those fresh boots, and that might give me a little bit more of an advantage in these hotter Floridian weather conditions.
Yeah, I wish we had some telemetry from inside the cars to see the tire temperatures right now and how they're faring up. But it looks like everybody's pretty much haven't really dropped the pace off too much from early on. We look at Joshua's best lap was a 12.6. He just ran a 13.06. So only about 4/10 different right now from the start of the race. A little bit of slip right there from Soto up on the curb, but he got it straightened out. And then look back here. Yeah, go ahead.
He was very lucky. He was very lucky at that point. But look at Michael Brock. He is closing. I feel the Jaws music. Days of Rod Schneider in my ears. Roy Schneider in my ears.
We play that, but didn't get a copyright strike. We'd play you some Jaws music.
Yeah, I know. Where you'd have Roy Schneider and Richard Dreyfuss in that old 70s classic. But look, Kevin Zhu is coming back and Michael Brock. So it is BMW versus Ford versus Mercedes. It's just like it's a GT3 race, but more to the point, look at Josh Sheps. He's going round the outside of Ryan Ryder into Sunset Bend. That's going to be brave from the 338 Mercedes, and he has gotten through. Great work there by Josh Sheps, who in his own right has that's his third place gained. He started 27th, and now he's the Mercedes meat in a Mustang sandwich, whereas Kent Kruger is still not buckling under the pressure from Oz Escalou. This battle from 15th to 17th has put Kent Kruger nearly 5 seconds behind Nate Himmelsbach, who's closing in on the 320 Mustang of Dan Carrido. Meantime, we go back to the sharp end of the field as Brian Lemke still trying to hold on to that third position ahead of Michael Brock and also Kevin Zhu. This is a really, really close battle, and we are nearly one-third of our way through the race as Morgan Smith closing in on Justin Atchison in the 175 Aston Martin. They've got Sean Teeter in the Cam Waters Supercar Tribute livery band up in front in 18th position. So as I said, there are pockets where we've got a gap between two drivers, and then it's 3 or 4 that are all in. I mean, looking behind Josh Sheps, you've got Ryan Ryder, Kyle Mavis, Russell Elizondo, Mike Bond, John Cooper. They're all so closely concertinaed, anything is possible. As we hit 13 minutes to go, Joshua Soto still leading, but his lead has now come down from 1.3 to about 1.2 seconds. Parker Dime is catching him in some spots, but Soto is able to stretch the legs on the 07. 718 came in GT4, and Sanoski has got Iriarte in the McLaren right behind him. And this is down the Ullman Straight in towards Sunset Bend. Will the number 79 pull to the right-hand side? Yes, he does. He dive bombs through and gets the whole shot. That's exactly what the Puerto Rican driver needed to do. Raul Iriarte now released and can go chasing after Austin Dilts.
You know, we've seen a couple different strategies play out through Sunset Bend right there. We've actually seen the outside line work through there as well. And I think what's happening with that inside line, as we saw earlier in qualifying, just so rough against that inside wall. We see the guys can get on the outside if you can pinch the guy down there. I think the guy on the inside is having to lift a little bit. But we saw right there the other strategy with Raul just taking a late dive on Sosnowski right there and just able to get into the corner on the bottom, take that line away, and just going to, like you said, just got his sights set now on Austin Dilts.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican looking rather racy in the McLaren 570S GT4. Of course, as now we see Mike Bond diving to the inside. That's on John Cooper for 28th position. It's not been a good one for the Canadian, who qualified 17th, but an early incident on the opening lap meant that he was turned around. And more to the point, Mike Bond is right there with Russell Elizondo, who's got Kyle Mavis, Josh Sheps. Look at this as a freight train coming through. And more to the point, Josh Sheps is having to fend off it all and sundry in the 338 Mercedes-Benz. But look at the strength of the Mustang in the hands of Kyle Davis. And Sheps knows that he's going to be passed. Elizondo round the outside of the hairpin. He tried to make it work, and that's going to allow Mike Bond to make it 3 wide coming out of the corner. Oh my goodness me, Mike Bond nearly was between a rock and a hard place, and in the champion-sponsored Mustang, he kept through, and he's still got John Cooper chasing him down in the Sky Lunch Motorsports Porsche. Oh my goodness, and Mike Bond loses the back end, and that was through Collier Curve, and John Cooper goes round the outside, says, thank you very much, I'll take that every single day of the week. But Zhu's run wide. Zhu ran wide, and that has given Austin Dilt 5th position. But in the meantime, that's allowed Michael Brock to canter away into the distance. Next up, Puerto Rico's Raul Iriarte trying to close in on the man from St. Kitts and Nevis in the... and Zhu makes a little bit of a mistake coming in towards turn 2. And that Mercedes looking on the ragged edge a little bit. Still, the temperature's very, very high on the circuit. The sunshine beating down on the circuit here at Sebring, and Austin Dilt's trying to keep himself ahead of Zhu. Iriarte trying to stay ahead of Sanofsky. Tyndall's come into the mix of this one as well. So Derek Tyndall in the Mercedes-Benz, the 042, running a slightly different livery. He was running the Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 livery for the past 2 weeks, but has changed with a new lick of paint for the Mercedes this time around. Meantime, Kevin Zhu retakes the position from Austin Dilt, so I think might have had a little bit of a moment. Chad Sanofsky trying to go on course and try and get through on Raul Iriarte. There is Derek Tyndall. This is going to allow Thomas Lathrop to catch, because Lathrop is only about 8.5 tenths of a second behind Derek Tyndall in the 042 Mercedes. And more to the point, Joshua Soto has cleared off into this distance from Parker Dime. The gap is now 2 seconds. Then it's a further 2.3 seconds back to Brian Lemke, who has got Michael Brock within 7 tenths of his rear wing.
Taking a look up here, Brock has actually fell back off of Lemke a little bit, but we have had some fantastic battles all the way throughout the field. I'm having a hard time just keeping up with them all, Alex. But look right here at Himmelsbach.
Yep, Himmelsbach,
He
yep.
has got Oz. Let's see if he can catch up to Carrito right here. So side by side with Nate and Dan Carrito, looking really sharp right here. Going to move up about 3 spots for Carrito, but he is looking to, he's having to really fight off Nate right there for that position.
Yep. Oh, Nate Himmelsbach dives to the inside. Dan Carrito has to avoid, open up the steering. Michael Brock at the 20-minute mark has decided to dive in. It was one of the first to dive into pit lane along with Raul Iriarte and Thomas Lathrop. Very good strategic driving from all 3 competitors, as if to say, I don't want to be stuck behind these people. I want to do an undercut. So it is now a case of how quickly can you get those cars out of pit lane, because now that drops them to 15th, 16th, and well, it's going to drop them a little bit lower, probably outside of the top 20 the way things are going. Chris Diaz has also come in early, and it has been the fact that the temperature has dropped. We were at 125.6 degrees Fahrenheit. We're now at 118.4. Air temperature still stabilizing at about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So more to the point, it will be the case. So Michael Brock, 18.93 seconds on his marks in the pit lane. It's a quick trip out through the exit of turn 1. 21. Harrison Mealy has just spent 36.8 in the pit lane. Raul Iriarte 21.27, Thomas Lathrop 19.6 seconds. And there you see on the right hand side, Rob Phelan, with the amount of pit stops that have just happened, is now effectively up de facto 11 places. But Joshua Soto, on every single one of the 9, well, which will soon to be 10 laps completed, there is a bit of cloud cover circling around here at Sebring. Must have been that northern wind that is bringing a little bit of additional cloud cover, but is helping to cool the circuit. Joshua Soto at the moment here, I have to say, is very much chancing the limits of the track here, Chris, and the reason being is that one wrong move, and that man in the 07, the driver based out of Antarctica, is going to find himself on the receiving end of a slowdown penalty, and that is something he does not want whilst leading this race, and he's led pretty much every single lap.
You know, the one thing we've seen covering Apex so far this season is you don't have any luxury to kind of lay back and relax a little bit. These guys are having to push almost a qualifying lap every time around the racetrack just to keep their position, and that's exactly what Soto is doing. He is pushing hard, because he sees Parker right there behind him in the mirror, only about 2 seconds back right now. And there he is, another off track, just about off into the dirt. So we're going to, like you said, he's getting close to getting a slowdown penalty, but he is having to push for everything he has to keep Parker back there.
There's a lot of pit stops now happening as we are past the halfway point. Tyndall, Miga, Bykov, Carrito, Himmelsbach are in. And they are going to tumble down the order once the ledger resets itself. I'm going to be interested to see. Now, Chris, I don't get on SDK the full length of time that drivers are in the pit lane. How long was the total for Michael Brock, including the 18.9 second pit stop?
50.75 for Michael Brock. So that's actually the shortest time. That's the shortest time we've seen of anybody so far.
Okay, so that could probably circle him up to, now looking at it from this perspective, Michael Brock is 47.2 seconds behind current race leader Joshua Soto. Now, this could be quite interesting because I think we're going to be probably 21 laps with the way things are going at this circuit, because we completed lap 10 at about the halfway mark. And it isn't exactly a small circuit. It's nearly 3 3/4 miles here at Sebring. So you've got a lot of real estate to cover in as short a time every lap as possible. So now it's a case of Michael Brock looking at his last lap time. Coming out, it was a 2:48.972. That was including, because once you come across a certain time line in the pit stop, you cross the start-finish stripe and you go on to another lap. So the next lap will be reflective of the current pace he has now, and his best lap so far 2:12.675. Bearing in mind that's only 73 thousandths off as Joshua Soto, Parker Dime, they both dive into pit lane. Will Brian Lemke follow? Yes, he does. Now, does the effect happen? Yes. Chad Sanoski stays out, however. Kevin Zhu, Austin Diltz, they've come into pit lane. Oz Esquilu, will he be the next one to dive in? Yes. Kent Kruger does. Russell Abraham stays out. This is proving to be a very interesting strategy call by Chad Sanoski and Russell Abraham. Now, I wonder where this is going to bring Michael Brock, who's just got through on Ryan Ryder. So Joshua Soto, he's gone over 21 seconds. Parker Dime is going to be effectively out in front. Ryan Ryder dives into pit lane. This could be the moment that Michael Brock, if he gets through on Parker Dime, it's going to be close. Is he in front? I don't think he is. I think Parker Dime might have just gone out in front. There's Michael Brock. Now, Michael Brock is still out behind. That's Brian Lemke. Lemke, 20.47. And there is Joshua Soto. So Soto has lost out a little bit, and it always got wide into turn 2 as the 07 did not need that. That's Raul Iniarte to his inside, and he's got through. Oh, it was all going so well until the pit stop phase, and more to the point, Chad Sanoski and Russell Abraham are your de facto leaders. Russell Elizondo also stayed out, and effectively he started 29th, he now runs P3. We've got 19 minutes to go, and that means, who else hasn't pitted? Pax Rolf in the number 7 Mercedes, who started, get this, 32nd, now runs P9 as Parker Dime to the outside and gets through, and that's on Russell Elizondo in the 101 Mercedes-Benz. So Parker Dime, I think, is gunning for an overall race victory here at Sebring, but with 18.5 minutes to go, I still cannot call who is going to win this race. It is going to be a tough one, but Joshua Soto, I'm afraid, Chris, he's now on the back foot.
Yeah, Alex, I'm not quite sure what happened right there, but Soto 10 seconds longer in the pits than just about everybody else. 31-second pit stop, 1 minute 2 seconds overall compared to Parker Diem with a 52-second stop. So I'm not sure what happened in the pits. If he maybe missed his pit stall, maybe he took on 4 tires. Everybody else took on maybe 2 or none at all. I'm not quite sure, but unfortunate there for Soto, dominating this race all the way back in 11th now.
Russell Abraham has just pitted. Chad Sanoski has gone again for another lap as Parker Dime will, at this point, take P2 in the race. And more to the point, this just goes to show Elizondo now pits, and now the frantic race at Sebring with 17.5 minutes to go continues onwards. Pax Rolf dives into pit road for his mandatory stop, and at the minute, well, more to the point, who is going to win this race? Chad Sanoski. How long can he? Because the thing is that even with the 35-second advantage over Parker Dime, that is not enough to facilitate a full pit stop. If you want to have that window, you really need about, what, 52 to 55 seconds for that overlap here, Chris. And, you know, Sanoski, I have to say kudos to him for staying out for what has been what's going to be an additional 2 laps. So I would think he's probably nigh on fumes in that fuel tank. So when he comes out of Sunset Bend, I'm sure that driver is going to exit stage right and dive into pit road.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that strategy right there. I mean, staying out, he's got like 50-second stop, 52-second stop. He stayed out for a couple of laps, so he'll have to take just a little bit less fuel than everybody, but still he's going to fall back here, as he's only about 37 seconds to the good of Parker Dime right now. So he's going to fall back probably he'd probably be lucky if he's in the top 10. But Soto crawling his way back up. He's up to 7th right now, but something's really going to happen for Soto to have a chance to get back up in the front of this field, because Parker Dime, Lemke, and Brock have just been putting too good of a pace on to make up the ground just on time alone. So we're going to see what happens here, but I think it's going to come down now to Parker and see if Lemke can make up some time right here. But I think it's Parker's race to win now at this point with about 15 minutes left to go.
Yeah, Chad Sanofsky now dives into pit road in the 343 Mercedes-Benz, which will give Parker Dime the race lead, as both Joshua Soto again flirting with the curbs, coming out of Le Mans curve from Genderbean. He went a bit too greedy on the curbs, as now Parker Dime comes through into Sunset Bend. And looking at this, Michael Brock last time round did a 2-minute 14.0, which is a pretty good lap considering the track temperatures have increased again. We're at 124 degrees Fahrenheit. That is more than 45 degrees Celsius. And here is Kent Kruger. Russell Abraham did him in the pit lane. He was a second quicker on his marks in pit road, and also for the transfer time from pit lane entry into pit lane exit, as Kyle Mavis gets a slowdown penalty. Haven't seen many of them tonight, to be honest with you. Joe Mayer gets through on Morgan Smith, who's gone a bit wide coming out of Sunset Bend. He's got to avoid the left-hand side barriers, and he just does so by the narrowest of margins, and he's got the 175 Aston Martin of Justin Aitchison just behind him. So this is the battle from 17th to 19th, and at the minute, well, how's about this? Chad Sanofsky, 16 seconds on pit road, and more to the point, he is currently P2. Who would have thought of that? Chad Sanofsky going 2 laps deeper into the race, but look at the gap between him, Brian Lemke, and Michael Brock. This is going to be a 3-horse race for the runner-up step on the rostrum and for 3rd position. Sanofsky may be at a slight disadvantage because Lemke and Brock's tyres will be up to temp with 14 minutes to go.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, what do we know about strategy? Chad makes a good play right there. His overall pit time was only a little over 47 seconds. So he gained about 4 to 5 seconds on a lot of this field just from his pit time, and only having to come in and take on a little bit less fuel. But he's got a solid 2nd right now. But he has Lemke. Lemke wants that 2nd place back. He says, I've been in 1st or 2nd all year long. He wants to get up there. So Lemke is sitting there like a shark, like you said earlier. Let's see if he can find a way around Sanofsky.
Now, the big thing is, who is in front of Parker Dime at the moment? That's the question I want to know. It's going to be Thomas Lathrop in the number 84, who was in the pit road for 3 3/4 minutes, so that's probably about north of 4 1/4 minutes in pit lane. Must have had to repair damage, so Parker Dime's got to get through on the 84 Cayman very, very quickly, who will be told, okay, you're right, the car behind you is the race leader. They come flying so close to the wall, and look at Michael Brock. Look at Michael Brock. He is really wheel to wheel with Brian Lemke in the battle for P3. Can Michael Brock get the overspeed? It's going to be tit for tat here through into T1. Austin Diltz is also closing in on them, but Brian Lemke able, but he runs a bit wide coming out of turn 1. Here comes Michael Brock to the inside through into 2. Is this a change for 3rd position? There's a little bit of a contact between the pair. Austin Diltz gathers all that time, and he nearly tags into the back of Brian Lemke, but Michael Brock got through. That is 3rd place for the 421, and now, well, still the high beams stay on with Brian Lemke in the 041 BMW from Sky Lounge Motorsport. We have got a race on our hands with 12 minutes and 20 still to go, and Lemke is not letting Brock get away with what just happened.
Brock with a great move, went to the outside, and Lemke couldn't make the pass, but it let him take a little bit better angle into the corner. It pinched Lemke down to the bottom, and it let Brock take a good undercut coming off the corner, but just got in a little bit deep on that next turn, couldn't hold the bottom of the racetrack, and pushed up in just a little bit of contact with Lemke right there. I don't think it was hard enough to do any damage to either car.
Yeah, exactly. And more to the point, the case of Michael Brock saw that window of opportunity. A rare unforced error from Brian Lemke showed that if you get an opportunity, it's a case of make or break. And Michael Brock made it work. And that's how quickly things can change here at Sebring. Track temperature now 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Austin Dilts nearly into the rear diffuser of Brian Lemke. And you can see how close we're coming out of Le Mans, down Ullman. And this could be the opportunity that Austin Dilts need. He might get a little bit of side draft from the BMW M4 of Brian Lemke. We turn right into Sunset Bend. Dilts to the inside. He nearly went for the double. He nearly went for the double overtake because Michael Brock was coming over to cover him, and Austin Dilts now becomes the meat in the sandwich. Great work there by the 217 Porsche to get through, and now he's chasing down Michael Brock down the start-finish stretch. Joshua Soto closing down on Kevin Zhu. We've still got 10 minutes and 40 seconds of Austin Dilts round the outside at turn 1. Will he make it stick? No, that could open the door for Brian Lemke. Dilts keeps the door shut for the moment. Brock comes across the front end of Dilts, who dives to the inside at turn 2, but no way will Michael Brock give up that third position. All I'm going to say, folks, get your popcorn and your beverage of choice by your side. You're going to need it for the next 10 minutes plus change, because we in the Racer Nexus broadcast booth are on the edge of our seats right now.
Brock with a good run. Dilts, they look like Lemke struggling coming off of Le Mans right there. Two laps in a row, and Dilts was able to take advantage of it. But right behind him, look at Soto. Soto closing back up on this battle. He's up to 6 now. He got around Kevin for that 6th spot, and he has now set his sights on the 41 of Lemke. Let's see if he can get himself back into the top 5.
But in the meantime, what this has done is that between Chad Stanovsky and Michael Brock, the gap is now 3.1 seconds and climbing. Now, I'm wondering who is currently in the lead of the mid-pack Larrys, because we've had so much action going on at the moment. Austin Dilts has just had a slight off-track, but that hasn't compromised him too much. It is Dan Corrido in 12th, who is battling away with Nate Himmelsbach in the number 043 Porsche. So at the front end of the field, we've got a Porsche leading overall, Mercedes in second, Mustang rounding out the overall top 3, and in the mid-pack Larrys, we have, get this, Mustang, Porsche and Aston Martin, because Justin Aitchison, who's battling away with Sean Teeter for 19th position, is the battle for P3 in the class. I cannot believe this, Chris. There has been so much good racing, and Jen, bless her, Michael's wife is saying, I am stressed out. Well, Michael's got to get his elbows out now, Jen, and get those standing knives attached, because here comes Austin Dilts. He's got through. Joshua Soto is now in between Brock and Lemke and is flashing the headlights to the 421 Mustang saying, wait for me, sunshine, the cavalry is coming.
Well, I saw him earlier. Soto flashed the lights at Kevin, and Kevin kind of moved over for him. I don't think we're going to see Brock or anybody else move over anymore for Soto. He's going to have to fight his way through, and he just made a great run on Lemke. Lemke's lost 3 spots in that same place on the racetrack now, the last 3 laps in a row. But Soto trying to charge his way back to the front. He's got a long way to go if he's going to catch Parker Dime, but maybe he can get himself back up onto the podium if he can find a way around Brock and Dilts. And Dilts to the inside.
Tough one. Oh, here comes Soto. Oh, Soto stuck his nose up the inside to show Michael Brock that he was there. Austin Dilts makes a little bit of a pixie around of the hairpin turn as they go through the Fangio chicane. Morgan Smith in 18th has just received a black flag, so might have just hit his instant point limit, but more to the point, this battle for P3 is not going to go away by any stretch of the damn imagination around here in Sebring, as Joshua Soto right on the rear of Michael Brock as they go through Cunningham and Collier. Now it's going to be Tower Turn coming up next, the 90 right, and then we'll put them onto the back stretch as they'll go down Flying Fortress into Bishop Bend and then into Genderbean before we head into Le Mans. Kevin Zhu gets a tank slapper coming out of Tower Turn. How the 243 from St Kitts and Nevis did not hang on to that. That was something definitely puckered up then, I'm sure, in the cockpit of the 243, but he managed to keep a hold of it. And now we've got the run through Genderbeen into Lamar. Austin Dilts is not out of the woods yet for P3. That's by a damn sight. Because you look at the gap between him, Michael Brock and Joshua Soto. Joshua Soto's last lap was a 2-minute 12.8. Michael Brock, a 2-minute 14.6. Austin Dilts 2:14.3. As Zoo and Lemke go into battle. Lemke did a 14.8. And this is where you're going to see these differing lines being taken coming out of Sunset Bend. And now Soto trying to get the run on Brock. As Zhu tries to do the same, he's gone to the outside of Lemke. Soto trying to go high, wide and handsome around the outside here at turn number 1, and he's just about got it done, has he?
Back.
Oh, it was close. Joshua Soto nipped it in the bud, just coming out of the exit of turn 1 on Michael Brock. My goodness me, we have seen some overtaking in the Apex this GT4 Tuesdays League so far in 2025 and 2026, but Sebring has been the battleground that really has kick-started the end of the first half of this series, as we've still got another 6 weeks of action to decide who will be our pro and mid-pack Larry champions. As Lemke to the inside of Brock, and that time Brock had to open up the steering. Lemke let him back through as if to say sorry about that, and Brian Lemke wants to make a clean overtake. He does not want to. He wants to do it by fair means, not by foul. And that is the calibre of Brian Lemke versus Michael Brock. They are two great competitors. They are two great rivals. They are also very sporting when it comes to how they race every single time here in a GT4 car. But more to the point, Joshua Soto now has to get past Austin Dilts. And look, Chad Sanoski is not that far up the road. He's not that far up the road at all, is he? He's about, what? Probably about 3 seconds, but the way that Soto has been running around this circuit, he's flashing his lights at Dilts to say, oi, you're holding me up, son. Well, that's for position, I'm afraid, Joshua. You've got to get past him, and now here's your opportunity.
Yeah, I've seen Joshua flashing the lights. I don't know GT4. I'm a little newer to GT4 racing, but if I know it was on a dirt track right now, and if somebody or a NASCAR and somebody's flashing the lights at me like that, I don't care if you're faster. Find your way around, and that's what I'd be right now if I was Austin Dilts. Soto, find your way around me, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that you can't do that. Joshua Soto goes sideways coming out of Sunset Bend. You've got to get past him on the road. Do not flash your lights excessively, and that's the big thing. That's a bit of a sports car etiquette. Once or twice, fine. Not multiple times. But more to the point, Parker Dime is not that far away. Has looked to the outside of Derek Tyndall. Great move. Another one around the outside at turn 1 by Raul Iriarte in the 570S GT4. But Tyndall's going to have the inside line for the next left-hander. The Mercedes and the McLaren wheel to wheel, side by side. And it's the left-hander coming back up again. And Raul Iriarte's ping has just decided to enter chat. Joshua Soto has finally got through on Austin Dilts for P3 overall. Dan Carrido is now 11th, and there is Roman Bykov between him and Nate Himmelsbach in the mid-pack Larry's battle for victory. But here is what happened between Dilts and Soto. And let's see, was the door open? Yes, it was. So Austin Dilts, a little bit of sideways momentum on the left rear of the back of the car, and Soto saw the opportunity, threaded the eye of the needle, plenty of racing room. He got the job done. 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and I think we'll have 2 more laps remaining. Kevin Zhu still trying to get past on Brian Lemke. This is for 6th position, and that's more importantly a big haul of points. Brian Lemke has been the standout performer so far this series, but his thunder has irrevocably been stolen away here at Sebring by the likes of Parker Dime, by the likes of Chad Sanoski. Who would have thought he started down in 7th position and at one point would go 2 laps deeper than anybody else? Chris Diaz battling away with Sean Tita. This is for the final position in the top 3 in the mid-pack Larry's, and both drivers go a little bit wide. And more to the point, well, looking at it from this perspective, Joshua Soto's last lap, 2 minute 13.14. Chad Sanoski, 2 minute 13.708. So Soto has got to get a real wriggle on. He's got to absolutely decimate the gap in front of him, and it's come down to about 2.4 seconds as we are onto, I think we are onto the final lap of this race, and Dilts is still keeping with Soto. So they're pulling each other along, but more to the point, Austin Dilts will want to be back into P3. Joshua Soto's pit stop was that little bit too long. If he was 5 seconds quicker, I think that man would have been still at the front end of the field. But Parker Dime, who's got through on back marker Thomas Lathrop, has got a car between himself and Chad Stanowski as we are heading through into the Fangio chicane, what looks to be the final time of this race. Austin Dilts goes wide, and that is going to allow Michael Brock possibly to get the run on him in the last few corners of this race if the Mustang has enough in its tyres. We're into the final 60 seconds of the motor race here at round 6 of the series. We head to Sebring, or no, we head from Sebring to Long Beach, so from Florida to California in just 7 days' time. Kevin Jew has got through on Brian Lemke as we hit 45 seconds remaining. Parker Dime is nearly 60% of the way through this lap here at Sebring, and more to the point, it is going to be the case of how these drivers will push right up until the checkered flag. The air temperature still at 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit as Chris Diaz still battling away with Sean Teeter for that final place on the rostrum in the mid-pack Larrys, and Teeter keeping the elbows out on Diaz. Diaz trying to go around the outside through Cunningham Corner. That's not going to fly there for the 213 Mercedes as the number 117 Monster Energy Cam Waters vehicle stays ahead, but it is going to be down to 0. One more corner, and from 4th on the grid we have a new race winner overall out of the final turn. It's going to be Parker Dime who's going to take the win here at Sebring to close off the first half of the season. He wins by 2.7 seconds. Chad Stanowski takes P2, and Joshua Soto rounds out your top 3 ahead of Austin Dilts, Michael Brock, Kevin Zhu. The streak is over for Brian Lemke, who rounds out 7th. Derek Tyndall, Raul Iriarte and Jesse Meager round out your top 10, but Dan Carrido in the 320 Mustang wins in mid-pack Larry's by nearly 2 seconds ahead of Nate Himmelsbach. And we just wait because Sean Teeter, the Cam Waters Monster Energy tribute band, comes out of the final corner, and he will finish 18th, and more to the point, finish P3 on the rostrum in the mid-pack Larry's division here at Sebring.
A new winner here for us with Parker Dime. Nice run right there. Soto did everything he could to get back up there. He fought. I'm still not quite sure what happened with that pit stop, why he fell back the way he did, but he fought back. He definitely the fastest car on the racetrack at the end, but just could not catch up to Sanowski or Dime. But a good run right there. Another new winner here for Parker. And, I'm not wondering if Lemke might have taken a little bit of damage with that earlier contact with Brock, because that Lemke was a little more off the pace than we've seen him at all this season right there at the end of this race.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show this has been a tough call for all our drivers here tonight at round 6 of Apex this GT4 Tuesdays. New race winner Parker Dime, after a few weeks away, comes back and fires a warning shot across the bow. We are just waiting to see if we're hopefully going to have our post-race interview show, and I think I might have come up with a name for it. The Apex Sim Racing After Show. How does that sound?
I like it.
Yeah, so there we go. But there you see our results for Apex this GT4 Tuesdays. Parker Dime takes the win ahead of Chad Stanowski. Joshua Soto rounds out your top 3 ahead of Michael Brock, Kevin Zhu, Brian Lemke, Derek Tyndall, Raul Iriarte and Jesse Meager. Dan Carrido rules the roost in mid-pack Larry's, taking 11th position ahead of Nate Himmelsbach, and congratulations to Sean Teeter for rounding out the top 3 in the division, finishing 18th. From 13th to 17th, it was Roman Bykov, Russell Abraham, Kent Kruger, Oz Eskelou, Joseph Mayer, Sean Teeter, Chris Diaz, Justin Aitchison, Kyle Mavis, Morgan Smith, John Cooper, Russell Elizondo, Ryan Ryder, Rob Phelan, Pax Rolf, Josh Sheps, David Sockrider, Thomas Lathrop, Dylan Foster, and Harrison Mealy rounding out your top 32. John Aguiledo finishing 2 laps down. Mike Bond out on lap 9. Uwe Hale out on lap 5. And Matthew Brent out after the opening lap. But more to the point, well, let's head to our Apex Sim Racing post-race show, because we've got a couple of drivers to interview, and the first person I'm going to pull into the booth to join us, Parker Dime. How's about that at Sebring? You take a couple of weeks off and you fire a warning shot across the bow, started P4, and you end up winning after a tough 45 minutes at Sebring. How are you feeling right now is the big question I need to ask you, Parker.
I'm tired. I don't know how I kept the car on the track. I guess I'm the only one who didn't take tires, I'd assume. But that car was not happy at the end of the stint. But yeah, I'm just as surprised as you guys are.
Yeah, I mean Sebring's always been a tough one, but the constant variable temperatures, we were most times anywhere between over 116 to nearly 127 degrees Fahrenheit. The tyres must have been absolutely falling off a cliff by the end of the race.
Oh yeah, tower turn. I was practically drifting every single lap. Sunset was near impossible. Chad was gaining on me when he came out of the pits, and then I don't know if he overheated his tires or what, but we started trading 3/10 here and there, and I was able to keep the gap.
But still, a Herculean effort, my friend. I mean, next week we go to Long Beach, different circuit, closer barriers. That's going to be a tall order. How are you going to fancy your chances around there?
That's my favorite track on the whole game. So I'm ready for it. That's the one I've been looking forward to.
As we would say in the United Kingdom, that's fighting talk, my friend. But congratulations on the win here. Well done.
It's local. It's a local track.
Well, there we go. There we go. That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say. It's a great one anyway. It's a true classic, and it's a real shame it doesn't get used these days. But nevertheless, Parker, you become our latest pro race winner here in Apex this GT4. Before we let you go and catch your breath, get some hydration down your neck, and probably towel yourself off a little bit, who would you like to thank in particular?
My wife for letting me race all the time, and WBM and parents and friends.
Brilliant. Well, Parker, well done tonight, and we'll see you on home soil at Long Beach next week. Well done on the W tonight.
All right, thanks. Take it easy, guys.
Big thank you there to Parker Dime. We've actually got our third place runner who did a stunning job in qualifying. Let's bring him in. It's the 07. Joshua Soto joins us. Joshua, good evening. Firstly, hell of a lap you pulled out of the magician's hat in qualifying earlier on.
Oh yeah. Sebring is one of my favorite tracks, so it was really interesting to get it done in the GT4s.
Now, pit stop. 31 seconds stationary. Did you take tyres? Is the big question I need to ask you.
Yeah, I took I believe I took 3. I was going to take 4, but I made a mistake. I thought everybody was going to take tires, but yeah, it ended up taking a lot longer than I expected. And yeah, it ended up being a big mistake on my part. But yeah, that's how that went.
But still, nevertheless, I mean, you got the fastest lap of the race as well, so 2:12.484. So, congrats on that one. And still, nevertheless, you came out. I think what was it? Probably just at the bottom of the top 15, and you came flying back. I mean, those tires really, really helped you push forward. And you had that sort of bee in your bonnet. You're like thinking, why did I do that? I should have just taken 2 tires or something like that. But it gave the Cayman a new lease of life, and you were pushing Austin really, really hard in the last couple of laps and managed to make the move stick. Still, you must be happy with the P3 overall.
Well, yeah, I guess. But yeah, and when it was coming back to try to get up to P1, yeah, I was just trying to get through traffic as fast as possible, and then yeah, that's pretty much what I was just trying to get up to P1.
Still, nevertheless, a great job, great recovery after a lengthy pit stop in comparison with everybody else. We go to Long Beach next week. How do you fancy your chances?
Oh yeah, I like Long Beach. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well done on the P3 tonight, Joshua. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Yes, I would like to thank my sponsor, Academy Sim Racing, and I also like to thank my friends and my family.
Brilliant. Well done on the P3 tonight, Joshua. Great comeback after the pit stop, and we'll see you next week for round 7.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Chris, that concludes the Apex Sim Racing post-race show. Great to hear from Parker and also from Joshua. Quite interesting that, yeah, he did take tyres and he took 3. If he'd have taken 2, I think that would have been a little bit of a quicker stop and he would have been able to have gotten maybe, I think, towards Sanoski and Dime at the end of it, wouldn't you have said?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what 3 would have taken on when you're turning right and left. I can understand on a circle track taking 2, taking 3 is kind of a maybe it's just a mistake on his part. But yeah, we definitely saw some different strategies tonight, and unfortunately, Soto fastest car on the track, but you can see right there, you make the wrong call in the pits, and it costs you a chance at the win.
Yeah, well, there you see that strategies do work, especially when high temperatures in Florida really brought this race to what I think, I have to say, is an absolutely brilliant race. I think it's the best race we've had all season long so far. And with that, Sebring brings the first half of the 2025-2026 Apex This GT4 Tuesday League with an absolute slobber knocker. Parker Dime rules the roost with a great strategy, finishing just over 2 seconds ahead of Chad Sanoski, with Joshua Soto rounding out your top 3. And congratulations to Dan Corrido, Nate Himmelsbach, and also Sean Teeter for rounding out the top 3 in our mid-pack Larry's division here at Sebring. 2 new race winners to add their names to the honour roll list here at the former site of Hendricks Army Airfield, here just 70 miles south of Orlando. Next week, well, from Florida, we head to California and the streets of the incomparable Grand Prix circuit at Long Beach for week 7. And it's going to be here live and direct on Racer Nexus. A big thank you to everyone that has watched along the live stream tonight. Don't forget to give us a like, a share, and subscribe. And don't forget, there's also plenty more racing action still to come on the Racer Nexus network. And reporting live from the Racer Nexus broadcast booth, you've been in the company of both Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Murphy. We will see you in just 7 days' time as the second half of Apex This GT4 Tuesdays gets underway. And until next time, race hard, race clean, and always keep it pinned. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good night.